Hey everybody. Well, those of you who saw my piece on the McKittrick branch, the tour and history I did of that earlier this year, will remember that I promised to do a piece on the Sunset Railroad, the branch line that split off the McKittrick branch at Gosford and went out to the west side. I was always under the impression, until I read a book about it, that its original terminus was Taft. That is incorrect. Its original terminus was Maricopa. Later on in 1910, the oil discoveries were made up towards Taft and at Pentland Junction, which we'll get to, I'll show you when we get out there. And the line was extended from Pentland west into Taft and eventually out to Fellows and a place called Shale, which was a couple of miles beyond Fellows. But anyway, behind me here is the west leg of the Y. There's another switch back down there, the east leg, about a quarter of a mile down there, and they head out onto the Sunset branch right here at Gosford. There's the signals controlling this small control point, the little OS they have here. And wow, check this out. I didn't expect this, local coming out. It's a big ass train for a local, but he is going out onto the Sunset. This is one of the ethanol trains, I guess. I just assumed they were oil trains, and I posted a video of a 13,000 ton train up on the Tashby on a BNSF, thinking it was an oil train. That's what I shot it thinking it was, and I was corrected by a couple of people that this is actually ethanol. 1267 on the ACT plate. So I will link that BNSF video taken up by Tehachapi in the description below. I'm not going to shoot this whole train going out there because it's going slow and it's all just these tank cars. Anyway, we will head on out and see what's up. Okay, this is a little further out on the Sunset. This is where the tracks cross Houghton Road, and this is a station called Kern. There was once a siding here, but it was abandoned in the 60s. Kern is a combination of the Kern Delta. I just put it backwards, and all of this corn out here. We saw the ethanol train. Corn is used for ethanol, and I'm sure this is where some of it goes. A lot of the corn grown in California now is done for that purpose. All right, so anyway, this is Kern. All right, we are at the east switch of Connor. Connor was a big transfer facility in the heyday of this railroad. It still has this siding right here. The main siding is, according to the records, almost 2,400 feet long. Then there's another side track off of it that looks like it's probably about 1,500 feet. So there's plenty of room to switch and store out here. I don't know if it serves this dairy. I don't see any loading platforms out there, but this is a huge dairy. Smells really nice right here. You can see that sewage pond over there. It's a pretty good sized dairy. It's one of the California producers dairies, Western Sky I think it's called. But anyway, that is looking back towards Bakersfield, and that is looking Track curves around there, stops going south, starts going west, and we'll cruise out there and see what's out there. I might add right now that other than crossing these tracks on roads over the years, I've never done any work out here, and I've never poked around out here. Other than where the bike path part of it goes through Taft, now I've really never done any exploring out here. So you're on a big adventure with me. And here we go. All right, quickly looking back that way around the curve there is where I just thought we were at Connor, but like I said there, I've never been out here before looking around. I guess I should have came here first, but I'm kind of working my way out. But I'm not sure what that station there is called or what it's used for, but it's not Connor. The milepost, according to my records, would have been about right, but it's not. This is the crossing at Old River Road, and that is Connor. The industry's there. There's actually a station sign up there that says Connor. Still a lot of industry going on back there, fertilizers and feed. A lot of truck traffic out here, a lot. That industry there on the left is closed down. You can see the roadbed there that used to have a track that ran up to it, served it, but it's all shut down and all gone now. Another big dairy over there. This is Echeverria Farms. And anyway, this is Connor. And as you can see, it's a busy place and it has some palm trees. Okay, this is looking back towards Bakersfield. You can see the switch up there leading off the branch line. That spur goes into Gulf, and that is the name of this station. And that is because that refinery there, that small refinery and shipping point, was built by Gulf Oil. Gulf, I don't know who owns it now. Gulf doesn't operate in the West anymore. And there's the, that would be the east switch, I suppose, of Gulf. And still a pretty busy place. I'm not exactly sure what all they ship out of here. The cars just look like oil cars. There's some LPG tanks there on the ground, but I don't know if they produce LPG out here or not. I don't see any of those type of storage tanks. But anyway, and something else I want to mention before we go any further on this is that the a few of these locations were built after the completion of the line. This is one of them. Kern was one of them, and Gardner Field Spur, which is further out there, was one of them. All right, moving on. All right, this is the crossing at Hill Road. I didn't know that. It's not marked. I actually had to look it up, see what it was, but this, as you can see the sign there, is Millick's. Named for Miller and Lux, who now they were really big in land. But anyway, see back down this way, there's probably a fertilizer facility. Looks this. Double style B case there, used for crossing controllers. Anyway, this is Millick's. Okay, I've got this zoomed in, so forgive the wigglies. But down there about looks like maybe a 3/4 of a mile or so, the track starts to curve back off to the south. I don't want to take the time to get out there because I'd have to go find some place to cross this canal. The gates are locked right there, so there's nothing out there anyway. But where that curves off out there was a helper spur. The track went straight. The normal position of the switch was into the curve, but they kept helper engines out there back in the steam days. for the climb the rest of the way up into towards Pentland Junction. So anyway, we'll move on and see what we can find without having to violate any laws or jump any canals. All right, we have arrived at Levee. And some of the research material I had said that the line was abandoned past Levee. That was in, I think that book was written in 2004, but goes out this way. There's quite a bit of industry out there, and I know that the ethanol train goes out there. I haven't been out there yet, so I'm not sure if it goes to that place right there or another facility. But anyway, this is where the tracks cross Lake Road, South Lake Road, actually. Big cotton gin there. It has a switch, so I don't see any cars out there. I don't know if it's still being served by the railroad. But it does have a spur. So anyhow, let's head out that way towards San Emilio. Well, this big plant out here, turned out, isn't all that big. Taft Manufacturing Company. I have no idea what they manufacture. It's got that little chemical beaker on it and stuff. That right down there is Boeing Propulsion Service. I don't know what they do out here. I don't know if they, I really don't. That's bizarre. Said I've never been out here before. I believe this place here is relatively new, but pretty interesting. The train, the ethanol train, was stopped here and then left. I noticed there's some switching going on down south of here. We'll go down there and see what's going on. Okay, this is the end of the railroad property. The track continues, but evidently the track beyond this point belongs to the customer, and that is where the train's termination is. This is a place, according to the maps and mileposts that I have, would have been called San Emilio. I know that in the oil field, there's a San Emilio out here. It was further up towards Highway 166, but it was in this general vicinity anyway. I don't know how long this place has been here. Again, like I said, I'm not familiar with this area out here, but it all actually looks relatively new. I know they started building up these tracks a few years ago, and I heard about these oil trains they were going to be running. And oil, ethanol, I don't know. I don't really care. But as you can see, there's the train that was coming out of Bakersfield when we left earlier at Gosford. And they have that train. There's one sitting in this another storage track, a siding, whatever you call it, up there. That looks like it's probably 3/4 of a mile long, and then they have that switching, that power sitting there. So this is a huge operation, and I know nothing about it other than it's huge, and it obviously makes a lot of money, or they would not be doing this. So anyway, if anybody knows what this actually is, drop a note in the comments below. All right, moving on. Okay, before we get away from San Emilio here, I'm not sure where it was. I've driven around here quite a bit and saw no remnants of a roadbed for what was once the Gardner Field Spur. Gardner Field was on the southern end of the old Buena Vista lake bed, and they had a spur that served that. They trained troops out there during World War II, and they used that spur. They'd haul the troops in on the passenger cars. No word on whether they used it for freight or not, for materials, I don't know, but they probably did. Nevertheless, they trained tens of thousands of troops at Gardner Field. The spur was put in 1941, and actually before we were involved in the war, and no word on when it was closed or pulled up. And this is about where the switch was, where the Sunset Western took off and went to the right there around that curve, and the Sunset Railway took off that way. There are absolutely no traces of the original roadbed left here, but other than this part right here, and it took off, crossed under kind of where the power lines are there, then pretty much followed them to the left of them out to where Hazelton was, and we'll head that way. All right, I'm at Short Road here that runs between 166 and Western Minerals Road, and it's hard to see right there, but just to the right of that marker that says 118, which is an underground pipeline marker, you can see the old roadbed kind of curving away to the left there, and then it goes straight out here where all this overgrowth is. All these bushes are grown up on it. To the left of that house, Hazelton was where the tracks stopped going to the southwest and turned up to the northwest toward Maricopa, which is over there. I'm not sure how far that curve was. That's a private residence up there, so I'm not going to go up there and bother anybody and scrounge around looking for anything else. There was a depot, a station, everything in Hazelton. I'll put a picture of that in here. And it was a pretty important stop at one time. Train orders, telegraph, agency, freight, passengers, everything. It was a big enterprise, but anyway, we will head on into Maricopa. Okay, we've moved down from Hazelton to Maricopa. This is looking southeast, again, out towards the hills, towards Hazelton. The roadbed runs right alongside those poles. You can't see it really because it's overgrown. You can see where they dug it up right there, that little mound of dirt. And it crossed Highway 166 right here. I'm sure the highway was here when the rails were here, but you can see over there on the other side, that mound there where the fill starts again. That's where the roadbed was, and headed over, kind of curving around that way to the left, and behind Maricopa. And over there, the depot was about, you can see where that oil tank facility is, a little tank farm there. The depot was around there somewhere when this curve straightened out, and it was built on a grade, so there was no yard in Maricopa. They would only stop trains there to unload and load freight and passengers, and by rule, no cars could be uncoupled from the locomotive while they were in Maricopa because of the grade. They had to wait till they got to up to Rexford or Monarch to break the locomotive off and come around the train. So, a little interesting piece of history. Okay, as near as I can tell, this is where the tracks would have come out from behind Maricopa, down towards where the depot was. Again, here the terrain has been so radically altered, it's impossible to tell, but using Google Earth, this looks like the direction it was pointed, but you can see where the roadbed ends up there. I can't get out there because it's all fenced off. I'm not going to do any trespassing just to do this. But anyway, it would have crossed the road right here. Of course, these tracks were gone by the time this road was paved. It may have been here, but it wasn't paved at the time. But anyway, they went off that way over to the end of the line, about, I don't know, about a mile from here, maybe not even that far, to a place called Rexford. and there were loading facilities there and a place called Monarch where there was machine shops and other industries. But anyway, that would have been the end of the original Sunset Railroad as it came to Maricopa. All right, well, that'll end the exploration of the Sunset Railroad portion of this. And that's the branch that came here to Maricopa. And we'll move on down to Pentland now and go up the Sunset Western Railroad that goes into Taft. Okay, this is at the, I guess what you could call the other side of Pentland Junction, and this is where the road bed curves off this way, goes around out there and heads up towards Taft. And you can see out there the roadbed going straight out towards the hills there. That will be going out towards Curto or Kertu or however it was pronounced, where we'll be going next. And here you can see this is the roadbed looking the other way, back towards Bakersfield. Comes around the curve going around that way and goes right in front of us here and around on out to Taft. And we'll walk over there. That's a little thing I want to show, that little bridge there, and show what that was all about as well. Okay, that is down where the tracks curve away there, going up towards Taft, and we're on that little bridge thing. This was the Pentland spur. You can see the roadbed there, and it came under here. There's a grate here, so obviously this mound was set up so they could pull probably gondolas. I don't think anything else would have been short enough under here, and they would dump rock or whatever it was whatever they were bringing up here, drop it into the gondolas, and the spur only went right back there, about where the pole with the light on it is. There was no wire or anything, so they just pulled the cars in here, backed them in, and then pulled them back out. You see the stairs right there on either side for the people who were working this to come up and do their work. And the tracks that went out to Hazelton are right. It's hard to see, but the roadbed is there. I thought it was to the left of those poles, but it's not. It's to the right of the poles, almost straight in front of us across 166. But anyway, this is Pentland Junction and the Pentland Spur, looking back towards San Emilio, and that way towards Taft. All right, we are at a place called Kerto, Kerto, and that is looking obviously south towards the mountains. For those of you who aren't from around here, is the Tehachapi range of the southern Sierra Nevadas. The Grapevine is over there. And you see the roadbed goes pretty much straight through here. No doubt about this, didn't have a hard time finding this roadbed at all. And up there you can see that warehouse is still standing. It was served by the railroad. Used to be a little siding track there. And don't know who owned it, but it's been there forever. And at Kerto, there was actually a post office from 1912 to 1923. And I don't know when the station itself closed. I don't know when the agency was shut down. No record of that. But anyway, that is looking back up towards Taft, where we will go next. And before we go, I might add that the name Kerto, I don't know how the heck it was pronounced, was derived from the Kern Trading and Oil Company. So another little piece of information. All right, now we're going to head on up to Taft. All right, we are at the outskirts of Taft, and you can see that is looking southeast. You can see where the trestle used to cross that creek right there. And that is looking into town there with my dad and my pickup in the way. But that's where the tracks went into Taft. Taft was established. There's a place called Baust City around 1904. And it was originally, there was Baust City. Then when they started building the town up, it became known as Morrow, M-O-R-O, and that conflicted with the post office in Morro Bay, so they added an N onto the end of the name, and the town was called Moron until from 1908 till 1909, when the name was changed to Taft. It was originally just called Siding Number 2. That's what the railroad called it. But anyway, a little history on the naming of Taft. All right, moving on into town. Okay, we are close to downtown Taft. The business district is right down there. I will be doing a standalone piece on the history of Taft in the future, but right now that is looking east, southeast from where we just were. We came into town, and we were standing in approximately in the roadbed. They've made this a bike path and a walking path and little parks, and when they have the Oil Dorado here every 5 years, this place comes alive with vendors and all kinds of goodies and fun. This is the Rea Building, Railway Express Agency. As you've seen in some of my other videos, and if you've checked out some of my history posts on my Facebook, you'll know that the Railway Express Agency was the predecessor to companies like UPS and FedEx, and REA itself actually survived into the late 70s as a delivery business. But this building here was closed around 1970. The depot itself set about 100 yards further down past the end of this building. It was a significant facility. And it was closed in 1965 and demolished in 1970. That's a shame. Too bad they couldn't have kept that and made it a museum, but that didn't happen. And that is looking northwest. Okay, we are up at the other end of Taft. Still a bike path here, but this is the original roadbed, and that is looking north out of town toward Mid-Oil, which is where we will go next. Okay, this is approximately where the station of Mid-Oil would have been. It was named for the Chancellor, Canfield, and Midway Oil Company. And there was actually a station called Midway that was about a quarter of a mile south of here, back towards Taft, and Taft itself. The town is over there where that green tank is. It's behind that. Can't see it from here, but anyway, that's irrelevant. But this was Mid-Oil. There was an agency here, a station, and you could actually purchase tickets here, passenger tickets, to get on the train and go wherever you needed to go around the oil fields. And there was an agency here that handled all the freight, and it said that between 1910 and 1912, 1910 is when the line was completed, in 1912 they opened the depot at Fellows, but in those 2 years they handled 950 million pounds of freight each year here at this station at Mid-Oil. That's pretty impressive. But looking back that way along the roadbed toward Fellows, we will head on out that way now. Okay, we have arrived at Fellows, and this is looking back towards the southeast, up the roadbed. You can see the roadbed right there. Most of it's covered with bushes now, but that road is known as the Fellows Bypass. Bypasses the town of Fellows, so work trucks and production rigs and whatnot can go around this way without having to go through the town of Fellows. And this is the old roadbed. The bypass goes up there, and if I can get up there, you can see that silver pipeline up there crossing. Looks like it's crossing the road. The road actually makes a curve to the right up there, and that is the old roadbed, and that pipeline is actually built on the old roadbed across the fills and everything all the way to Mid-Oil, the facility there where we were earlier. I don't know. I know there was a depot here, and there's only one picture of it. There's a big wide spot up there. Maybe that's where it was. I don't know. The only picture of it is hard to tell what it looked like. And so there's the roadbed here. There it is going off that way. You can see that small dirt mound there. There's no trestle work or anything I can see over there, but on the other side of the street you can see where the roadbed continues on. And again, it's important to remember that this terrain is radically changed since the time the railroad was here. That road probably wasn't there at all during the time the railroad was working here. Now Fellows, the town, is right there. There's not much there anymore. According to Dad, it was a very thriving community even into the 70s and 80s when he used to work out here, but pretty much everything's gone now except a few of the houses and the fire station. This was originally known as siding number 3, and you'll remember Taft was siding number 2. The town and post office were established here in 1910. The depot here was closed in 1931 along with the agency, and that was all consolidated in Taft. The rails were pulled up here in 1940 from Taft to Shale, where we will be headed next. But anyway, that is what was going on at Fellows and what is going on there now. All right, we have reached the last part of the roadbed that is doable. This is looking back towards Fellows. It said Shale was about 2.5 miles from Fellows, which is about where we are right now. It's hard to tell because there's no straight roads to get here. You wouldn't believe how difficult it was to find this roadbed. Even with Google Earth, it's so overgrown and some of the terrain has been so radically altered you just can't see it. And but we scrounged around out here for about 4 hours to shoot this 2-minute in piece. Got my papa with me, and that road right there, it ends right there and heads off towards that earthen structure there, whatever that is, and beyond that it's not visible. And anyway, this is as close to the end of the line as we get at Shale. We don't know exactly where it was. Like I said, it's just too hard to tell mileage wise with an odometer. We probably drove 5 miles to get this 1 mile, this last mile we went. But anyway, here we are. All right, that will bring to an end the exploration of the Sunset Railway. It was an interesting exploration. Some of the stuff was easy to find, some of it was very difficult, but got it done, and I hope you enjoyed it. I always enjoy doing these explorations. I love bringing my pickup out here in the boondocks and tearing it up. But anyway, As usual, if you have any ideas, leave them in the comments below. I'll see what I can do about that. Like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you all later.